Thanks for checking your cheats. Reported. Pathetic. Stupid.
Spoiler alert, any game that ends with quotes like that means it's gonna be a pretty good game. Hey, school bus here. Rolling out here on, what is this, Himmelsdorf, Erlenberg? Whatever it is, some German name. In the double-barreled IS-2 Deuce, as I like to call it. And this is a tank I've enjoyed quite thoroughly. And, well, again, as those quotes indicate, somebody finds some issue with how I play this game. Is it one of my teammates? Is it the enemy? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to move out and get into position here. As you can see, though, kind of on my own, so I don't really want to be too awful brave. But I know that I do want to work this area. I'm top tier. I've got things on my side. Well, let's briefly talk here about this tank. It never actually existed physically, but it actually was a concept. There was an idea, and it was the same tank designer that had done the ST-1, which we're familiar with in, was that Tier 9 in World of Tanks on the Russian heavy line. But when that design was rejected, he came up with another design, which apparently had the philosophy of, hey, if they won't accept it with one barrel, maybe they'll accept it with two barrels. And that concept was also rejected, and so never saw anything beyond a concept sketch. Now, Wargaming filled in the other blanks here to create some sort of a tier structure leading up to it, starting here with the IS-2 Deuce at Tier 8, and then moving up into Tier 9 and to Tier 10 respectively. What's interesting about this tank, aside from the fact it's two barrels, is the fact that it has more gun depression than Russian heavies typically have. Don't quote me on this, but it probably is the highest gun depression Russian tank that I can think of. That all of these have 8 degrees of gun depression. And it makes me ask the question, why? And my thinking is, can't prove it, but their theory was, hey, if you have two guns that are a relatively smaller bore, oh yeah, check that out. See, that right there, that's the problem with the double barrel firing mechanism. You've got that perfect shot lined up, and you squeeze the trigger, and it's winding up, and right at the moment that it goes off, the enemy's either moved or you jank the shot for some reason. If I had a nickel, but now watch this. Oh, sweet justice. Ah, it feels good. Now this tank is fully upgraded now. I didn't find it to be terribly painful stock, but the stock gun with the, I think it's the 85 millimeter that you start out with instead of the 100 millimeter, it's lacking on its damage dealing potential, but it does fire faster. The DPM isn't terrible. It's not a bad place to start, but it's far better in this situation here. And many times I found myself calling it, I think I called it like the slack-jawed Perchetto or something like that. It's sort of like Bubba, the Perchetto. That I mean, you've got kind of the auto-reloading mechanic going on with the barrels. Oh, boy, that was a good one there, wasn't it? And the armor worked. And then we get hit by the artillery and we're stunned. But yeah, that was a pretty cool move there. But anyway, it doesn't move very fast. It's just kind of clumsy and slow, unlike the Perchetto. But the auto reloader, check out that RNG. Stalin had his hand on that one. Other than it being a bit clumsy and slow, it is not a bad tank getting around on the battlefield. But as I've heard others say, the skill cap on it is really high. I could do so much more with this if I was an even better player. I don't do bad with it though. I've had a lot of really good games, It's just, this is the first one that actually ended in being an ace. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. Oh, check this out. We line it up. Unfortunately, he gets a good shot on me, but it was enough that softened him up to the point where our boys were able to finish the job. You're actually getting to see more double barrel action in this game than probably what I normally would have, but it works well just taking advantage of the DPM of firing single shots. But if you find a situation where you catch an enemy by surprise, it can work really, really well, as you can see, using the double-barreled shot. Getting back to the strategy of this game, I move up further. I know I'm on defense, but we have no vision up this way, and my thinking is, if I can keep an eye on the enemy in some of their critical positions, or keep them back in those critical positions, we're less likely to get pushed. Now, you just saw there, I took a double-barreled shot and really didn't do much with it. One shell dinged off the top of that British medium up there, but didn't do any damage. Unfortunately, that means now he knows I'm here. Vision. Let's talk about vision. It's your pretty typical Russian heavy. Can't see squat, but you'll notice I put binocs on it. And that has actually served me really well. Doing things like this here, where your team's not necessarily playing their positions, or really in this case there's no tanks left to play that scouting position. So it gives you a little bit of an advantage in a situation like this. But right now, we wait. And we be patient. And I think maybe, just like I say whenever I'm talking about the light tanks, and patience pays off, I think the same is true with this tank. You can do some really stupid things in it that get you dead really early. But if you don't do that, and you stay alive, it's a good finisher later in the game. So I'm trying to figure out what lit me there. And honestly, even having completed the game now, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know what lit me. It could be this guy over here, but I don't exactly see how. I would have figured anything he would have done would have been a proxy spot. Alright, now check this out. Oh, he takes the shot, misses, and now I'm able to fire his turret. And now it's just a question of, will I have to take a shot from this TD? I wait to reload. I wait to reload both shots. For average-ish players like myself, hey, it's always good to have a backup plan. But we didn't need it. We killed him, and actually I think I rushed it, and I didn't even have my backup plan ready to go. Because now I'm still waiting for that first shell to load. And bless Wargaming's hearts, they didn't make this like the IS-3A. The second shell is faster than the first shell, so if you fire it one shot, you'll have a higher DPM than if you fire both. So I start to advance forward, thinking that now's time to go and play cleanup. But then I look at how many hit points I have, and I realize that there's a Scorpion G out there, and I realize that he's basically unabated to flank to the north and get behind that ridge, and I turn around, and I head back to basically where I started at the beginning of this game, because that was a really good position to hold in the meta of how this game played out. So I go one more street up, cut into the right here in this bush, and I wait. Now, this tank is not particularly good at sniping, as you've seen, but it does have really good soft stats, which you didn't really get to see in this game too much, other than maybe that shot in the Panther. But that second shot, that was all me. I don't know what I was doing there. But that first one, that was definitely RNG not helping. I get one shot in, and then the boys back home are able to finish him off. Now, with only a matter of seconds left to go, now I'm all in. I'm going to hope somebody's trying to bum rush me down this alley. And, well, let's see if there's anybody there. Just about the time I wrote it off, there comes that Artie. I managed to catch him on fire, and then he blows up. And, well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is both the end of the game and the answer to the question of who sent those wonderful compliments that you heard at the beginning of this. Any game you get called a cheater, you want to file that away as a victory. So we have our ace tanker, high caliber, complaints from the enemy. What else is there in World of Tanks? Great success. So, in quick conclusion, I like this tank. I think it's a fun line to play, particularly if you've played the game for a long time and you want something different. It's not the cluster that the wheeled tanks have become, which previously was what I was looking forward to as being something a little bit different to try out. Now I just feel guilty as all hell anytime I play any of them beyond Tier 8. I will put that caveat on it. I don't think below Tier 8 they're necessarily a bad thing. But man, those Tier 9s and 10s. Anyway, I digress. Double-barreled, a lot of fun. Encourage you to check it out if you haven't. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great day. School Bus out.